You know, I've been a fan of Magic ever since I was a child. Like wizards and stuff like that, you know, Gandalf, Dumbledore, Thatcher, the whole bunch. But little did I know all my life there was a phenomenon happening all around me that I would love, but I never knew about. A magical one. That was until 2 years ago now when I discovered Magic the Gathering. You know, people often say to me, "Hey Jordan, you look like a virgin. What can you tell me about trading card games?" And I say, you know, Dad, this video's for you. Magic the Gathering is a trading card game developed by Richard Garfield and was released in 1993 by Wizards of the Coast. I would like to stress that it was developed by mathematician Richard Garfield, as it can be quite confusing to hear that the world's longest running card game was created by an obese cat obsessed with Italian cuisine. As I'll get into, MTG, as I refer to it from now on, has quite the legacy. And as someone who grew up with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, it's been quite interesting to find out about the history of the game. While I'd never heard about it as a kid living in Scotland in the early noughties, not only did MTG predate Pokemon's trading card game by 3 years and Yu-Gi-Oh's by 6, but it was in fact the very first trading card game as we know it today. By the way, I'm going to refer to trading card games as TCGs from now on, or we're going to be here all day. It turns out the wave of other TCGs like Yu-Gi-Oh! And such were a response to the massive success this new genre of gaming had created. A quick scroll through Wikipedia's list of collectible card games showed me that while there are many, Magic the Gathering was the first. It also showed me that there is a 24 trading card game. Like, Jesus, talk about forcing a train, you know. What else? They got the Anne Frank TCG. I'd love to imagine the group of angry Anne Frank trading card game fans online arguing about how broken the meta is nowadays. I mean, back in the day, you had to use skill to win the game, you know, but nowadays you just get all 4 pieces of Robo-Hitler in your hand, you win the game. Like I said, I knew Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon as a child, but I never actually properly played a card game until about 5 years ago. I owned Pokemon cards as a kid, but that was because they were shiny and I was a magpie as a child. I have never once even attempted to play a round of the Pokemon card game, and my strategy of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Was by finding the card I owned with the largest number on it and going, "I win, and if you disagree, then we're not friends anymore." It was not until 2015 where I bought a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game on the PS4 that I realised A, oh my god, Yu-Gi-Oh! Card video games are hideous, and B, you now need a PhD in anime to understand this board state. There's like all these new mechanics, there's like pendulum zones. What else did he do? I look up gameplay online. People play like 50 cards in the first turn and then win. It looks miserable. So while I'd always had a certain love for these type of games, I'd never actually played them properly. Back in the PS3 days, I got my first taste of Magic, however. I think it was Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalkers, it was called. They had the annual installments and I played the demo for the 2012 version, I think. I remember really loving the 1 4-hour session I spent playing with it, but at the time I didn't have any friends, and the ones I made afterwards weren't interested in cardboard. But now that they're gone, and the courts didn't find any evidence on me, my new friends do enjoy cardboard, and my goodness is it a slippery slope. Fast forward to late 2019, many years of curiosity were satisfied as Wizards of the Coast came out with a shiny new Hearthstone-like free-to-play online client, ready to take the credit card balance of those with poor impulse control everywhere. With a slick and intuitive tutorial where you get to play against an AI with pre-constructed decks given to you, MTG Arena is the perfect introduction to the game, and if you want to get into the most dangerously addictive card game in the world, I recommend downloading Arena and at least running through the tutorial first. I originally tried it out as a passing curiosity and whoopsie daisies, next thing I know I've put 300 hours into it. Eventually I got a game night box for playing with my pals outside of my 27-inch monitor, and what do you know, 2 weeks after I first visited, they've already spent £80 on cardboard. Be honest with me, would you, sir? How much? Look at that. How much? Sorry, sir, I caught you. But why is the game so addictive? Why is it so good? Why do I like it? I'm an anxious person, so I usually stay away from competitive multiplayer games, where how much of your enjoyment is based on how good or bad the person you're playing against is, something that you don't really have any control of. I've had times where I would have fun matchups all day and it'd be great, and other days where I'd be getting destroyed constantly, couldn't go more than an hour and a half without a win, I'd be miserable. Well, to explain how you can waste thousands of your own pounds on pretty looking bits of cardboard, I need to explain the game of Magic the Gathering itself first. Magic the Gathering is a trading card game where you play with a customisable deck of 60 cards against an opponent. There are lots of different formats to play the game where your deck has more or less cards, but for this example let's just say it's 60, since that's the most common situation. Each card in Magic has a colour: white, black, red, blue and green, except for those who don't, but we don't care about them right now. Go away. Your deck is full of appropriately coloured lands of your choice which you tap to cast spells in your deck. To do anything in Magic you need mana, which you get by tapping lands. So if your deck has a lot of black and green spells, then you'll be playing a lot of Forest and Swamps, which are lands that tap for green and black mana respectively. At the beginning of each turn you place down a land if you have one in your hand, and use it to put out creatures, play instant, sorcery or other type of spells. Each player starts the game with 20 life points, and whoever can bash enough made up numbers into the other person's face until their life total hits 0 wins the game. That's the fundamentals of Magic. If you play the game for the first time, it'll probably look something like that. But there are so many different formats to play in Magic. There's Standard, which is probably what you'll play first. It's exactly what I described above, but what cards are legal to play with in the format rotate every year or so. A new set of cards comes out every 3 to 4 months I think, they get put into Standard, everybody plays with them, and then eventually they rotate out. Thankfully there's a lot of other formats that don't rotate and let you play with cards of most, if not any age. Modern is one of the most popular formats, as it doesn't rotate and nearly all but the oldest cards in the game are legal there. Commander is arguably the most popular format, and funnily enough was actually created by fans first. Commander has each player make a deck of 100 cards, with one legendary creature as their commander. Unlike other formats where you're allowed to play 4 copies of any one card except basic lands, in Commander you can only have 1 copy of each non-land card. On top of this, Commander is usually played with 3 to 4 people, so where decks in other formats can feel a bit samey as you quickly see the one strategy that person is trying to use to win, Commander is a slower game which allows for some more creativity in deck building and fun political decisions, making temporary truces and pacts with other players when one person at the table is getting too powerful quickly and you should all start flicking his cardboard over to the other side of the kitchen table. Jordan, that's quite a lot. I hope there's not much more to this game. There is, and I can't keep track of it either. There's lots of formats: Legacy, Vintage, Draft, Cube, Two-Headed Giant, Three-Headed Giant, Texas Hold'em rules, One-Handed, Akimbo, Cardless, and Solitaire. Hey honey, is it okay if we play some...
I don't want to play your stupid card game!
There's a lot to find out when you start playing, what formats you enjoy and what will keep you and your friends playing for hours on end. So, as I like to do, I've been an introspective little boy and I've been trying to figure it out. What is it that really makes it click with me, and why is it when I lose 20 games in a row and have a miserable time I will still end up coming back? Well, I think I figured it out, and it's that while Magic the Gathering has many layers of knowledge and strategy to it, the main bulk of the game is basically gambling. There's always been a gambling aspect to trading card games. You traditionally get cards in booster packs, packs of 15 cards or so with no guarantee of what you'll actually receive. Those 15 cards might be worth less than the paper they're printed on, or depending on the set, you might have just opened over 100 pounds of fantasy cardboard cocaine. Oh, fuck yeah! I don't really know where the law has landed on this. It's always seemed to me that, while I really enjoyed them growing up, opening booster packs for the best cards is basically just prepubescent gambling.
Because you make some cards scarce, I've got to buy more and more if I'm to be sure of getting those scarce ones.
Or make more trades.
Yes, but it's going to be easier to spend the money, isn't it?
I don't know, maybe the kids find it easier to trade.
I think those kids spending all their money on booster packs at age 7 are going to end up one of those wrinkled 75-year-old retirees pulling the slot machine lever for 14 hours straight in between their colostomy bag changes in Vegas.
You want 500? What are you going to do with it?
Gamble it.
But say you don't do that, you've got impulse control, you've got a pre-built deck, or you've spent some reasonable money buying singles online to make your own deck. Unless you have some ludicrously better cards than your opponent, you still very well might lose. There's fundamentals and there's strategy, but sometimes you just draw shit cards. Or your opponents draw just the right cards they need. This is exemplified perfectly in Magic Arena's highest achievable rank, Mythic. To get to the highest rank in the game, all you have to do is win more than you lose. And I don't mean a lot. You can get to Mythic with a win rate of 55%, the highest rank in the game. You can lose 11 times in a row, but as long as you then win 12 times in a row, you're on your way to the top. I watched a very interesting wee interview with one of the best Magic players there is, Paulo Vitor Dama de Rosa. I am a Scottish man who said that first try. I'd like some bonus points in the comments please. Even someone as experienced as him admits that sometimes the game just screws you over. The ranking system goes in ascending order from bronze to silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and then mythic at the top. Paolo himself says in the interview that while he's used to getting to mythic, one year he could barely get past silver in the competition.
Right, you take my career for example, I was platinum or the highest equivalent for like 5 years running, and then I was silver, which is like 2 steps below for 2 straight years. And I don't think much change in the way of my life or preparation, right? It's just something that happens.
So even with the best deck possible, a multiple time world champion very well might just lose because, oops, he didn't quite believe in the Heartley cards hard enough.
I have to believe that it holds some secret strategy. This card is useless.
This isn't to say I don't like that the game has a lot of luck involved. Like, the very best still have a win rate of about 60 to 70%, according to random numbers I found on the internet.
Even the best players have a 65% win rate.
It's just that winning isn't really the point of Magic the Gathering. Creating your own decks and having fun is. But if you've played Magic Arena, you'd be forgiven for thinking otherwise. Winning really is the only thing that matters in Arena. Whether you're just playing casual matches or trying to climb the ranked ladder, you only make progress by winning. You can earn coins by completing daily objectives you receive one of every day, but to earn XP and level up to unlock packs to open, earn cosmetics and get even more money from daily wins, you need to... you need to win. And this is before you pay money for a mastery pass where you earn even more things for winning. It's a free to play card game. In the post-Fortnite era, you could have probably guessed it would have something like this. As much as Arena is, I think, one of the best ways to introduce people to the game, and it makes it fantastically accessible and easy to play, its economy is exceptionally stingy and the focus the game puts on winning above everything else, while that makes complete sense from a business perspective, it's not very enjoyable from a "it's my YouTube video and I don't give a fuck" perspective. It isn't the best way to play Magic, and if history has taught me anything, it might just lead you to getting burnt out on the game entirely. The best way to play it, as you might expect it, is with your friends. And I don't mean in some Disney Channel friendship forever nothing can stop us now type of way. Hell no, I'd throw any of these people under a bus for £50 or less.
Alright, here's the game plan, guys.
So whoever it was
I burn the place down, and if they die, I win.
But because when you have your own little play group, you get to decide what exactly your roles are. There's ban lists online for every type of format, but when you're just playing at the kitchen table and you have a card you want to play, well maybe no one cares that it's banned everywhere else. Or vice versa, maybe there's cards that you all hate and you don't think are fun to play against, so you can just put that in your own ban list. Perfect example, my friends and I don't play with Planeswalker cards. Planeswalkers are a unique type of card introduced first in 2007. They're a cool concept but are usually so universally powerful that whenever someone plays one, you have to divert all your effort to getting rid of it, or that person is very likely to gain a massive advantage. In Magic, you usually play creatures and attack one another to reduce your opponent's life points. Planeswalkers have loyalty points, which act as their own health, but are also used to activate pretty powerful abilities. Once they have enough loyalty points, they can activate their ultimate ability, which is usually extremely powerful. Once a Planeswalker is out, you can choose to attack it directly instead of your opponent. So when one is played, you need to spend resources getting rid of it instead of bashing your opponent. And because all of this power is in one card, you can spend 3 turns getting rid of a Planeswalker and, well, they can just play another one. Or if your opponent was never hugged as a child, their entire deck can just be Planeswalkers. So they might have 3 Planeswalkers out at once, and now you have to essentially deal with 3 other players with their own life points, which can all do a lot of damage. Some Planeswalkers are better than others, but if you played Arena, then you probably know how powerful and irritating they can be. But like I said, thankfully, in my friend group, we all have souls, so we just agree not to use them. Like I stated earlier though, in Arena, winning is what matters, so even if you don't like certain cards, it doesn't really make sense not to play them if they're going to let you win. Magic is such an old and complex game that eventually you will run into some deck archetypes that you really hate. Let me tell you about 2 of the most infamous ones, milling and counter spells. To mill a player in Magic is to force them to put a card straight from their library into their graveyard. If a player goes to draw a card and they can't, they lose the game. So milling a player's entire deck is another way to win the game, apart from just getting their life points down to 0. It's also another way to get sent to one of the 9 circles of hell. In the recent meta of Magic the Gathering, there's a very simple combination of low cost cards that will mill players without even interacting with them. They'll play a little piece of shit crab guy which mills an opponent when they play a land, which happens pretty much every turn. But they can play up to 4 of these and then a variety of cards that will make players mill twice as many cards than they normally could, all without fighting creatures or doing anything directly to the other opponent. So you essentially stop your opponent from playing their deck with nearly no interaction with them at all. Counterspells is also a deck archetype that can be considered the antithesis of fun and the epitome of all misery that has ever been experienced in human existence. Counterspells are exactly what they sound like, cards that are used exclusively to stop you from playing your own spells, and there's nothing you can really do about it unless you, get this, have your own counterspell. Have you noticed the pattern? The game is no longer fun when other people's strategies revolve around not interacting with players and or stopping them from playing the game themselves. For a lot of people, at this point, it feels like you've stopped playing Magic and started playing Solitaire with prettier artwork. But, say you now want to play Magic. So you've started playing Arena, you think it's really cool, and you want to start playing with your friends in real life. You find out about all the good cards and how to make decks with them. It's going to be so satisfying to build your own deck that you thought of, and it gets to be your own little baby. You look up where to buy the cards, and holy shit, they're how much? Yeah, I've been calling it cardboard cocaine for a reason. My friend was big into Warhammer, so he's danced this dance before.
So I would say it's a problem.
Because Magic cards are printed in limited quantities in random packs, cards you want are sold on the secondary market of playing card stores and sellers all over the world. And as you may expect, the really good cards get bought by everyone, which makes them more expensive. And next thing you know, holy shit, your Commander deck cost £1,000? And you know, call me a penny pincher or whatever you like, but for as fun as Magic is, it's hard to justify spending that amount of money on cardboard. And as someone who just wants to play with their friends at their house, no card stores, no competitions, just having fun with my pals in their kitchen, you don't need expensive cards to play. There's two things you can do at this point if you're just playing with your friends for fun. You can all just agree that you're not going to buy expensive cards, it's not like they're needed. Or you can use proxies. By proxies I mean stand-in cards. If you really care that much about it, you can write the name of the card on a bit of paper, draw some shitty artwork, put it in a card sleeve, and if no one cares that it's not officially sanctioned cardboard, then go ahead, play with it. Or, if you want them to look nice, you could get proxies another way, one that I'm very hesitant to recommend, where you find custom playing card makers and commission them to print proxies for you. Is it legal? Like, technically yes. Mostly. Well, most places do it. No. Can you get them done in some places? Yeah. Well, they look very good. The ones you're looking at now do. Will I tell you where I got mine? No. Why? Because I found out they're selling people's credit card information. It's a crying shame. There is such a good community online around proxying, whether that be making fancy alternate art or just making the game more accessible for people not wanting to spend hundreds of pounds on artificially scarce cardboard. But as it turns out, the type of places that will print high quality proxies for you are also the type of Chinese-based, barely legal operations that will also sell your information. Now obviously I'm not saying who they are because I don't want to get sued over a YouTube video that's destined to have 140 views, but if you do get them done, I recommend always using PayPal and a false phone number if necessary. A few weeks after I ordered my proxies from one of these places, I got battered with spam phone calls, and then eventually money came off my account from a transaction from another country. Sure enough, I asked around afterwards, and it turns out my suspicions were right. Dozens of other customers had also experienced fraud about 2 to 4 weeks after ordering as well. Some people had transactions come off their cards for thousands of pounds worth of plane tickets. I'm not saying write off altogether. I got into making some really pretty custom cards myself. I mean, look at these. I'm so proud of these look awesome, and you can't get them anywhere, you just need someone to print them out for you. But if you are going to do that, be extra vigilant, do your research, and if you can't be bothered with all that shite, just stick with the cheap stuff anyway, who cares? Truly, most of the fun that comes from Magic is making a deck that you thought of, and a cheap one if you can. This little deck I made right here managed to do pretty well in Arena, and it's really inexpensive. I was so proud when I finally put this all together. When you do find cards that you're willing to spend money on, I recommend cardmarket.com if you're in the EU. It's basically the eBay of trading cards in Europe, and you can find cards for literally pennies where it would cost you 10 times as much if you looked at other retailers online. There's sites like Chaos Cards, Magic Madhouse, Total Cards, eBay and Amazon. They're usually a lot more expensive than Card Market, however. And of course your local game store once you feel comfortable sitting in a small un-air conditioned room with nerds you don't know in a pandemic. If you feel like Magic is in general just too expensive for you, Pauper is a fantastic and relatively inexpensive format where you create decks with only common rarity cards. It is, as you might expect, the most inexpensive format the game has, and it's still a lot of fun as you need to get a little bit more creative building decks when you don't have ludicrously powerful and expensive cards to rely on. Oh, and there's still so much to talk about. The rabbit hole of accessories, the pastime of sleeving up all your valuable cards in the most pristine cardboard condoms money can buy. Binders, deck boxes, dice, etc. There's more in this addiction than just cardboard. But the best part is playing with your friends. Magic Arena is a fantastic way to start, but if you're like me and don't want to sink money into a stingy economy that you need to constantly play daily to get your money's worth out of, find some inexpensive decks online and build them yourself. In Arena, the focus on winning all the time and the animosity that comes with playing a game with people over the internet you can't interact with can also really sour your mood. Or maybe buy a game night box and bring it to your pals. That's how I originally introduced it to my friends, and while it could be hit and miss, it was still an excellent board game-like experience that got them hooked. After that, I'd look into getting one of the very reasonably priced Commander decks and try it out in at least a group of 3 or 4, as it's some of the best fun I've had in years. I once heard that Magic is the best game ever made, and considering it was the first ever trading card game as we know it today, one so successful it resulted in dozens and dozens of imitators, with different formats to play with whatever your preference may be, and it's still the most popular trading card game almost 30 years after its creation, I think I have to agree. Magic might be the best game ever made. Unless you play blue-black and you kill every creature about in the field, then it's a bunch of bullshit, and if you like the game you're dumb. Apart from that, it's quite fun. And that is the cardboard cocaine that is Magic the Gathering. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. If you want to support me, fucking give me all your money and your mother's maiden name. Or if you want to be kind of smarter about it, just subscribe, watch my other videos. I have a comedy channel where last month I released a video on how to get a job in 2021. It is entitled Trying to Get a Job in 2021. And thanks very much for watching. I will see yous next time.